it's been a year from, Obama's elected, and he might be having some difficulties with the kind of ancient structures of government, and he even had a little bit of difficulty here at a sub-election in Massachusetts. But actually, it's interesting. What happened in Massachusetts was because these people, the opposition now, the conservatives, actually used the exact same approach he did to defeat, essentially, the lumbering party establishment in Massachusetts. But anyhow, let me give you a good sense of how this worked in politics, and again, I'll apply it then to what's happening here today. All politics since broadcast television, which was 1960 really, and John F. Kennedy, did three things. And the basic way to think of it is it was central. You raised money from really concentrated people, like wealthy people or big companies. You had to control the party establishment, which was the tightly controlled organization from the top, the hierarchy. And ultimately, you had to master broadcast television, the one media that got out to everybody, just cooked the same message out to everybody. Anyone who mastered that best won, period, in the United States. Roughly, it's the same thing happened in Europe and all over the world. Until this last cycle. And the last cycle applied those technologies I just mentioned, information technology, and said, well, if we took technology, we could actually tap into many, many, many more people, engage them to put their own money in little pieces of money. And we could actually not need the party, but we could engage all these outsiders and get them involved as a kind of an outside party in a way. And you know what? We could use this new media, the web, that didn't have to control these very expensive kind of broadcasts. And so, in fact, what you watched, in terms of all the different ways this happened, fundraising, and I could go through all the numbers, but I'm just going to do a good example of this. Basically, Obama raised twice as much money, roughly, as McCain, using these new technologies. Half of it was under $200, all because of that engagement. Got people engaged. I'll throw in my little bit of money. Whoosh, overwhelmed the old centralized system of going to the big, richer people to kind of do it. And again, so what you basically got is in the past, that's what it took to win a U.S. election. It was about 100,000 well-off people. Obama, in the primaries, got 1.5 million people, which was more money than anyone could do. And ultimately, you watched in the election, it wasn't quite that, it was about 4 million people, but he raised more money than anybody. Same thing with organizing. And again, engagement. What happened here? The numbers in the United States, the Democratic primaries doubled the people involved in those primaries. And the Democrats almost doubled what the Republicans were able to turn out. Why? Because they had these new tools that engaged people, made them feel connected to the process, made them get energized, made them get out of their houses, made them come out to vote, all the things. Engagement, totally superior way to go. And ultimately, it was a group of people, centralized old staffs, essentially the executive committee type way, or getting everybody involved. Boom. Millions of people involved worked. And then the final thing I'll just say with the media, and then turn to the problem solving, is these new media numbers. This is just, again, an example of the difference between 120 million views for YouTube views for Barack Obama, and ultimately not very much at all for John McCain. Now, why is this important? Engagement. The top 10 videos on this site, people were watching them for an average of 14 to 15 minutes. Not 30-second ads passively watching on television. 14 minutes they would engage this stuff and really actively take in the messages and understand what's going on, and then actively hit another button to get involved, put money in, or sign up for the campaign. Engagement, far superior, blew away the old way to do it. So ultimately, what politics did in the United States, and I think it's kind of essentially a paradigm shift that's going to be increasingly seen all over, is you're watching essentially through these technologies a way to tap into, not just rely on the kind of small groups of wealthy, but many, many other folks, not just the centralized party, but all these kind of outsiders, and ultimately, not just television and the web.